What struck you about that meeting?
The fact that the three national Indigenous leaders were there to speak to the king was a moment that I shall cherish for a long time.
When you say cherish, why cherish? What is it?
Because I saw a discussion that was very intimate in many ways. I was kind of facilitating the process. They had a very, I think, frank discussion between themselves. I think it's a new beginning that we are embarking on.
Were you able to raise the matter of reconciliation? Were you able to raise even the matter of an apology or reparations in any way?
We talked about reconciliation because in Canada, that's what we are talking about a great deal these days, about how to reconcile in Canada between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. It also includes the Crown because the relationship with the Crown is very complex. There has been some big challenges related to that, but we have to also remember that in Canada, there's been a lot of movement to settle the claims of Indigenous people, and the fact that we are going through a process of reconciliation, and those mattered very much to the king.
Is there something that surprised you today? Was there a question he asked or something he said that is still rattling around for you?
Each of the leaders spoke about their own situation with the people that they represent, and it gave a very kind of fulsome overview of what we are facing in Canada, but at the same time, they also realized that they wanted to start slowly with this conversation, with this relationship with the king, so that they can understand the issues more fully, that the king can understand and appreciate more fully the situation that Indigenous peoples face in Canada. Some of the positive things that have happened in Canada, which there is, numerous things that have happened over the years. So it's a dialogue, it's a beginning, and there will be other sessions.
Is there not a fatigue in constantly having to explain?
Life is a lifelong experience of explaining for Indigenous people. This, Indigenous people are very resilient people, and they take every opportunity to talk about their own identity and their own culture and their own challenges. And I think that's part of the process. That's part of living your life, working towards bettering your own communities. And I don't think that ever stops. People are looking for change. They are looking for positive change. And whether there's going to be an apology in the future is not something that was discussed today.
That word didn't come up?
That was not, no. Well, it came up, but it was not discussed. In the future, there will be other difficult issues that will be brought up into the conversation. But the dialogue and the communication is very important, because communicating is action as well. People often talk about after apology, we need action. Well, part of that action is having this dialogue and this conversation to agree on things that they can move forward.
Another perspective on Charles's relationship with Indigenous peoples comes from Perry Bellegarde, former National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations. He's met with Charles many times and is in town for the coronation. And he spoke to Adrienne earlier about why Charles's reign gives him hope.
Thank you for joining us. What does it feel like for you to be here right now?
Oh, it's amazing. The energy, the atmosphere, to witness this coronation happening for King Charles III. He's our treaty partner as First Nations people. He's our treaty partner. We have a Crown First Nations relationship. And so this is history in the making. I'm very honored and humbled to be here.
What has kept that relationship strong?
Well, it kept it strong through the name-giving ceremony back in 2001. Elder Gordon Oaks from Nikanit First Nation bestowed the name of Kisikaupi Simawa Miu Kanawa Pamago in Cree, which means the sun watches over him in a good way. So because of that relationship through that name-giving ceremony, the blanketing ceremony, it built upon that treaty relationship with the Crown, but now we have that spiritual connection. And that leads into this work now that he's doing through the Terra Carta and the Sustainable Market Initiative. And it's a really strong growing movement. So it's very fitting from the name to the work he's doing now.
But between you two, what has kept the relationship strong? Because he meets so many people. He has meaningful, brief interactions with so many people. It's different with you.
I think it's just the connection that we have. Like he's embraced our Indigenous worldview, if you will. And so because of that, and because of our strong connection through treaty, we've maintained that relationship. And you know, when my wife Valerie and I were very humbled when he invited us to his house 4 years ago to ask for our help on this very important work going forward. And so we agreed to help to bring the Indigenous perspective, our elders' traditional knowledge, to the work about global sustainable development.
I see an excitement in you that feels really genuine.
I'm very hopeful because he's so committed, and he's already demonstrated his commitment to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. He's demonstrated an environmental reconciliation. And to me, that's a bright hope and a future for future generations. This individual, he's inherited, sure, the monarchy and colonialism, all those negative things, but he's already starting to talk about how to build a better relationship. He's already starting to talk about the necessity of service, public service, and duty to serve everybody. I see that sincerity in him. And because of that, I think people should, you know, when they view the monarchy or King Charles in a negative way, give the individual a chance.
And when you say give him a chance, what action makes those words look like a promise kept?
He's already met with the Indigenous leadership from Canada. What a strong, powerful message to embrace the Indigenous leadership, even before his coronation, you know, and demonstrated his willingness to listen.
Is there something about the coronation service itself, and I know you know some of the details about what's going to happen, that those of us looking on should look for as a signal of precisely what you're talking about?
You know, he's trying to make it more grounded, make it more human, make it more heartfelt and sincere, so people get it, that it's almost like a spiritual calling. You know, that's what people should get a sense of and feel, that a spiritual calling to a sense of duty, a sense of purpose, sense of public service for all of us. People should look for that.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much.